He's the Mandarin or whatever it is.
Yes.
Not to be confused with the fruit.
English actor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it? I think it's Sir Ben Kingsley. Actually,
He's got Sir now.
he is a very
knighted.
very good. Anyway, on the subject of hacking, so you say people don't hack into stuff anymore; they log in. What do you mean by that?
It's far easier to be able to trick someone into giving their credentials without knowing it, as opposed to spending time, money, effort into finding vulnerabilities in platforms and operating systems and applications such. So your identity holds the key to a lot of information, your email, Teams, shared mailboxes, any other SaaS applications that you use that set of credentials to sign in with. If an attacker can get hold of that information, that's far quicker. They can widen the area of how many people they're attacking through automation, and it just takes one person to be susceptible to that, and they've got the keys to be able to look around that organization.
This makes a lot of sense. So it's almost like a bit of a backdoor if you can find a way in from the back, and then all of a sudden you have access to everything.
Not necessarily everything, but you've got access to what that user can see. And again, attackers are looking for things that are misconfigured or permissions that are overly generous in some areas. So, once they're in, they can explore other systems which that user has access to, and obviously find other people that they work with, try and find other people that might have a bit more power to the platforms, and try and elevate their access by moving through the organization. But ultimately, once you're in, you have access to information and to data, and that can be valuable to attackers.
This makes sense. So, okay, I'm trying to defend myself. The standard thing I hear as a layman, when I understand, what defense means when it comes to cybersecurity, is things like MFA. But you've said to me MFA isn't something that really works anymore in this, or rather, what I say, it's not as safe as I may think it is as a layman. So could you unpack that a bit for me?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it definitely adds more protection to then the standard kind of username and password, and we would recommend starting there. But not all MFA is equal. So a lot of these are, again, susceptible for being able to be captured through a login process. And again, some of the concepts that we see attackers use today, things like MFA fatigue, constantly bombarding the user with an MFA request, and in the end the user just accepts it to make it go away, without actually realizing that's not me that's requesting that's not something else is forcing those. But equally, even if it is a genuine sign-in attempt, that is susceptible to being captured and then being able to be used by an attacker to log in without prompting any further MFA prompts.
The phrase that came to mind for me as you were saying that is like, it's kind of, you're exploiting humans here as opposed to, say, technology. Because when I think of hacking and breaching stuff, it's always some guy in a hoodie sort of like typing stuff in, but it's literally just, as you say, it's people just getting tired of prompts and just clicking through something without thinking it through properly.
Indeed, it's finding that late night request that you bombard them with on a Sunday evening, or getting them at a busy time during the day so that they've got other things going on, and just it's the humans are potentially the weakest link in that chain, which is why they're now favored by attackers for being able to gain entry.
So Ian, I have been told you have a demo for me.
Yeah,
you're going to show me how to break into a completely standard run-of-the-mill account that almost everyone is going to have, and you can do it in what, 5 minutes?
under 5 minutes.
I would like to see it.
Let's dive in.
Okay.
So we've got a demo environment here, and it's important to point out for the benefits of legal purposes that this is an ethical demo for training purposes.
I trust you.
Obviously, doing this in a production environment is highly illegal. So ultimately, this is set up for this purpose only. But we assume the identity of a guy called Alex, who's just arrived at work on a Monday morning. Obviously, very busy time, lots of things going on. He's checking his email and can see that he's been added to a Microsoft team by Emma, who happens to be his manager. So, on the surface, this looks like a legitimate email. It's branded with Microsoft Teams. It's got information that relates to him and his direct chain inside the organization. It's come from Microsoft Teams. So all excited, personal development. He's going to go and have a look.
So this is fake. What
That's
you're
the
showing
fake.
here.
That's well, it is fake, but it appears very, very genuine at this
Mm.
point. So Alex clicks the link, and he's asked to sign in. So, okay, no big deal. We've got some saved credentials there. Let's sign in. And all looking good. We've got an MFA prompt. So, okay, we are going to be signing in.
So everything so far is exactly the same.
Everything looks normal. He's used MFA on his mobile phone.
Yep.
He's then passed that. And he's now being redirected. And it's a bit strange. He's landed at a different page, not where he expected. He expected to go to the team, but as I said, it's a busy Monday morning. He'll catch up with Emma about that later on, and at that point, things may become more clear. But at the moment, he's just going to close that window and carry on checking some of the other email in his inbox. But what actually happened, and this is from the point of view of the attacker, is that behind the scenes, we've now got a whole bunch of information that was tracked by Alex clicking that link. So if we have a quick look here, we can actually see that Alex signed in. We've got Alex's password, and we've got some tokens that were captured through MFA. So we can see that MFA was actually through a phone app notification. And underneath here, we've got some cookies. So what we can do as the attacker is take hold of that. We'll copy that cookie and very briefly now go to a private browser, just so that there's no evidence of anyone being signed in previously. And we're able to import that cookie as the attacker, and then head off to, let's try outlook.office.com. Now I'm signing in as the attacker. I've got no password. Well, I've got a password, but I'm not signing in using that at the moment.
And you just have complete access to his stuff.
Got not prompted for passwords. I'm not prompted for MFA, and I'm straight into Alex's mailbox here. So not just mailboxes. I could potentially go to Teams as well and get access to all the teams that Alex is a member of as well. We'll just let that load. Shared mailboxes. So for example, I can browse through and see that actually I've got access to the accounts mailbox. Should Alex have access, that might be an over granted permission, but ultimately there may be information in there that leads to certain clients, to bank account information potentially. There's very, very sensitive information there, and
you can see how rapidly this is becoming more and more serious.
Yes,
just from one little. So what that was, I'm sure you'll explain this more in detail later, but that was a cookie that you took.
It was a session cookie, yeah.
And that was from the MFA?
From MFA. Yep. So the term is adversary in the middle, which is effectively you think you're going to a legitimate website. These things are very easy to set up these days, and a social engineering attack just needs something like LinkedIn to work out who you are, who your manager is, what might be a current affair that you're talking about or working on at the moment. Just some key bits to make it more believable. Long gone are the days of the Nigerian prince trying to look for someone to safeguard all his money. This is stuff that's relevant to you, and that's the trick that attackers are using to convince the users to click that link.
It looks so genuine too. Yeah. I would have absolutely no idea.
As soon as you've clicked it and you've signed in, that's it. Your account is compromised. The attacker can then take that information and sign in the background. So again, looking at the Microsoft Teams, we've got all of the chat. We could reach out to colleagues. We could try and get other people to click that link as well. We've got access to all the information across Microsoft Teams. Again, highly likely a lot of that's going to be commercially sensitive or business sensitive information. We've got access to files, to chat, to meetings. I could join meetings as Alex, as another participant, and listen in. The key point there is as well as the applications inside the organization, anything else that uses that identity to sign in to other financial systems, other line of business systems elsewhere, then those are all susceptible to that risk as well.
You can see just how starting from one cookie you've taken there, or that's your little backdoor in. And even just from my perspective as a layman, not understanding any of this stuff, you can see all of this person's team messages. So
Mhm.
anything that's sensitive on there, all of the emails, and then that's just the viewing, let alone the actual when you start interacting with people, as you say, emailing specific people or finding some kind of sensitive information in the emails. It gets serious really quick.
It does, yeah. And I think you can assume the identity of that person inside the organization, reach out to other people. Um, from that point, you can identify who the other people are. You don't need to be an admin or
Mhm.
be an admin to be attacked. You could be anyone inside the organization. And again, overexposed permissions or being able to convince the right person to give you control as well, can just elevate that problem as it moves across the organization.
Absolutely. The first thing I can see here is the opportunity for ransom.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the most common reasons for doing it, to extort organization for financial gain. And in the past, obviously, if you've been on-prem and people have been compromised, their identities on-prem, then often the attackers would encrypt all of your files. It's slightly harder to do in the cloud environment, but what they're also able to do is kind of extract that data. If there is some sort of financial gain from the attacker, to be able to publicize that or sell that information, again, they can hold the organization ransom to that happening. But also being able to, if they do manage to traverse and to get to a point where they've got admin privileges to the tenant, then at that point they could start locking people out. They could lock the admins out. They could start deleting large volumes of data, and at that
Mm.
point there's very little you can do, other than either deal with it post breach or be able to kind of pay that ransom and get your environment back.
Okay, so how do you prevent this?
So there's obviously user education is a massive, massive piece, to make people more aware of what it is they're clicking on. Look for little signs. If we go back to that demo, we can see that there were some giveaways in terms of the sign-in address that they were being directed to. Some of these things aren't pixel perfect, so there might be typos or little tweaks that if you're a scam reading it, you can pick up on those. But ultimately, at a platform level, looking at phishing resistant MFA, so things like Windows Hello for Business or using passkeys with the authenticator app. These are things that would just stop that kind of attack dead in its tracks. So
These are called biometrics, right?
biometrics are part of that, yes. So it relies on you being in proximity to a device that is trying to make that sign-in request. So again, if I'm in front of my laptop, I will have my phone. I'll have a camera that can scan my face or my fingerprint or something like that. So yeah, using biometrics to prove that you are in the vicinity of the device that's trying to sign in is where um, that technical feature can actually prevent those attacks from happening.
Mhm. Is this whole thing of sort of using more secure ways of logging in to prevent this kind of stuff? Is this the secure by design idea?
Yes, and again, secure by design means it caters for some things that might not be done right. So, for example, the user clicking that link and giving away the credentials, that could still happen. But ultimately, if at the platform level your identity management is saying, well, no, we need a stronger form of MFA to be able to sign in. We're not going to be giving away the tokens that are there. We need to use some hardware based authentication. At that point, even if the user is susceptible to it again, um, the platform will not let them sign in because the attacker is not in front of a device where that token was initially granted. So again, it just takes another element out of the equation. That means that you, as the person making that request, have to be near the device or in front of the device that is making that request. And when everything ties up, at that point, you're allowed in.
Makes sense. Okay, so wrapping up then, I've seen this. I've seen how easy it was for you to do this. What should my next steps be? Let's say, I'm in an organization. I see that my security isn't what I thought it was. What do you think the quickest and easiest things I should do straight away to make sure that I'm ready for something like this so me and my team are safe?
Well, Obviously, standard MFA needs to be on, and we still see a number of organisations where that's not the case, or it's there are a number of exclusions for certain people or for service accounts and things like that. So MFA in its very simplest form is a necessity. It's a must. Taking it to the next level, looking at things like passkeys. Admittedly, it's some work to get it out for the entire organization, but definitely start with the administrators. So people who have highly privileged roles, remove that standing access using things like privileged identity management. So you only assume those permissions when you need to do a particular task. If your account doesn't hold them the whole time, making sure that those admin accounts also have phishing resistant MFA, and ultimately start planning and auditing for the rollout of passkeys and passwordless authentication for the entire organization.
Makes sense to me.
Good.
Thanks, Ian.
You're welcome, Lewis. Pleasure.
Join us again for another episode.